Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ReelQuick, episode 129. We're here to review a patron-selected film, Steven Spatsky's The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Quick synopsis: Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 1991. High school freshman Charlie is a wallflower, always watching life from the sidelines until two senior students, Sam and her stepbrother Patrick, become his mentors, helping him discover the joys of friendship, music, and love. This was a rewatch for, I think, all of us except Seth. A first watch for
First
Seth.
watch for me.
First watch for Cam as well. So, Seth, we will start off with you. Give us your thoughts. I believe you watched this last night, so pretty fresh.
Today.
You watched it today, so fresh as fuck. So give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that I've kind of known about for a while. I think it's very popular in the coming of age space. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I think that it has some really, really good elements, but it runs the risk sometimes of getting into those cliches, and it doesn't really stray from the path of a usual coming of age narrative. But it does so in its own way that provides insight into. Sorry, what's the main character's name again?
Logan Lerman's the actor, but Charlie
and Charlie's life. And kind of what we see, especially obviously we'll go over it in the ending of kind of the real determining factor of kind of the way he is, I thought was really intricate, but also careful and sincere, because I think it's a topic that it's hard to, you can get it wrong a lot of the time as well. I do think that kind of, so there were times when I struggled to really identify with his character. And I think that like this film, I thought would get me on an emotional level more than it actually did. I kind of faced a disconnect a lot of the time. I also just like, it's such an American coming of age film, which isn't definitely, it's not a negative in itself, but it kind of just has so many similar scenes that are just in film after film. I also just don't like it when Emma Watson does an American accent. It kind of annoys me. I don't know what it is. Like you guys can obviously let me know. Is it a good American accent? Do you think it's a good one?
I think it sounds fine. I
think it's just annoying, to be honest with you.
I don't have an issue with it.
I don't know. I think it was annoying, but maybe it's just me like knowing.
Okay.
I mean,
I kind of just think she's an annoying character in this movie. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it goes down that route, and I think the ending is really sincere and kind of sets it up in a way that really showed the rest of the film and where it was going. But I kind of just struggled to connect with it emotionally, which is weird. Maybe it was just a different mindset this morning, because this is usually the film that'd get me. Like I quite like everything. Didn't get a tear out of me with this, which is in itself a bit weird. The cast was great, actually. The cast was surprisingly good. There were a few like people in it who I didn't know. Like at the start, like when Julia Garner's in it, and she's like never in it again when her face is in it, and then like Paul Rudd, I just thought would be like a staple, for example. He's like never in it again. There's like these background guys, which is kind of cool. The ending with obviously I won't say anything, but there's ending obviously the School of Rock head teachers in there as well. I can't remember her name. But I do think it's a good coming of age film. It goes through a kid who's having real emotional struggles through something that's obviously happened to him as a kid, which obviously we'll go through. And it does manage to identify, what is hurting him the most and why he is this way. And at the end, it kind of all comes together. But it just didn't really have a major impact on me emotionally, I would say, is the main thing. Score-wise, get a 3.5. So I definitely liked it. Good film. Nothing I'm crazy about. Nothing I'm probably going to go back to anytime soon. But good. It was a good film. I enjoyed it. Good. Well, enjoyed it, as much as possible anyway.
Yeah, 3.5 is good. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, 3.5 is really, really good. But it's just, it's kind of surprised me, because like with the subject matter, I just thought I'd be a lot more impacted than I actually was. There were some funny moments in this for sure. I liked Ezra Miller in this a lot, which I don't know if we're allowed to do anymore. But.
I was going to say, is anyone going to say it? Because I do think he's good in this movie, but I didn't know if anyone was going to like bring him up to praise him.
I think it's they, isn't it? Should remember that. Is it they? Yeah, I think so. But I agree. They were really good, and it's one of those where it's like, can I praise? Can I provide praise? Am I allowed to do so?
I mean, at the end of the day, this movie was released 12 years ago, probably filmed like 13 or 14. So like their actions weren't even a figment or thought in their imagination at this point. So
well before their downfall, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cam, we'll jump over to you. Another first watch of this beautiful coming of age film. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of not on the opposite side of Seth, because we're both highly rated. But first, can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah.
It should just let you. You
Okay.
click present.
Yep. Okay, so
What?
this is an alternate poster for this movie.
What the heck?
I don't know what this is, but I was looking for an alternate poster, and so this is person being a wildflower right now.
Right.
So sorry, I wanted to share that.
Who is that supposed to be?
I don't know what that is. I don't know. Dumbo.
Dude,
last night.
Kind of looks like what like a young Jenna
Dumbo in this
Ortega could
movie?
be. Like like a young Jenna Ortega making a funny picture.
I was about to click this one as like the
No, it's got to be the one on the
I
left
saw
to
this
that.
at the bottom, man. And I was like, whoa, I'm keeping that. Dumbo.
I love that like anyone can add their posters on Letterboxd.
There's
That's-
so
I,
many. Like,
I think
stupid
that's the
ones.
funniest thing in the world.
Yeah,
There's
it's
some of them that's so
fantastic.
funny. I agree.
Also, last tangent, and then I'll give as actual review. So I'm about to post the picture of our stream like for the ReelTok promotion, right? And the link is at the top. So I wonder if anyone like has tried to like get into our as we're recording. Like if we
Imagine
posted it.
someone
Yeah,
just
so I
came
blocked
in.
it out. I
That'd be
blocked it out.
so
Damn, did I do that? Did I do that too?
think
Because
you
I posted a
it, yeah.
picture too.
Yeah, I think you posted it. That'd be hilarious if someone.
Oh
tried to
no,
do it.
I didn't put the link. All right,
Okay,
cool.
But just I really enjoyed Perks of Being a Wallflower. I'd never watched it before. Emma said she really liked it, and then I came down last night and watched it, and it was. I will say I wasn't in love with it for the first. It's an 85 out of 100, so a low 4.5. Maybe we'll drop down to a 4, but still really enjoyed it because I think for an hour and 20 minutes I liked it a whole lot. I didn't love it, and then the last like 20 minutes I absolutely adored. I said I was bawling on. I was bawling to Perks last night. Spelled bawling wrong, and like Tyler mentioned, could have been bawling on Percocet or bawling to Perks of Being a Wallflower. Very different things, but yeah, just almost had me dying of sadness. But it was really, really great. Weirdly enough, I've watched 3 Logan Lerman movies this year now, so he's my most watched actor of the year. So
What, the two
Is he
Percy
Percy
Jackson?
Jackson?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
that
Percy
Percy Jackson?
Jackson's in
Okay.
this. So next year when Logan Lerman is on my
Tick off Bullet Train and you'll be good.
yeah, hell yeah.
He's a big Twitter guy. Anytime you post a modern picture of Logan Lerman, you'll get the thirst quotes
Hell yeah.
endlessly.
All right.
He's a
Really?
good looking dude. He's a
Alright.
good looking dude.
We'll take that.
Especially these days.
But yeah, I really adored this thing. Coming of age is like my favorite genre of movie, and this like skyrocketed up my ranks. I mean, I have a bunch higher, obviously, but I really did love this. I texted one of my friends, one of my best men in my wedding, who's like a huge Perks of Being a Wallflower guy. I was like, I'd never watched it before. I loved it. It was awesome. Well, sad at points, but really, really, really great movie. Oh gosh. And one I'm kind of bummed I hadn't watched before, but yeah, there's my general spiel.
You're right, Tyler. He is a good looking guy now, isn't he?
Mhm.
Very good looking guy
His
now.
stubble
Fair
game
play
is
to him,
incredible.
Yeah. Shit, yeah, he's glowing up, man.
And like every picture, he's like on some sunset on a beach or something. So like the lighting's great.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
He knows how to take a picture. He knows how to take a
He's a
picture.
handsome fella.
Yeah, my review, my quick review before we get into anything you guys want to continue talking about or anything we want to spoil. I'm big on this movie. This is one of not only my favorite coming of age films, just one of my favorite films in general. I absolutely love and adore it, and I feel like the older I get, and I guess the more mature my mind becomes, just the more value I find in this project. It's a 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's been that way probably since as long as I've had a Letterboxd. It's the first time I've rated this movie. But I love it. I think it's a really detailed exploration of trauma and mental health and isolation. I think there's a lot of care that went into this screenplay. There's a lot of care that went into all of our characters. There's a lot of care that went into dealing with, a diminishing mental health, and just how important it is to have people around you, to have an outlet. And throughout this review, or throughout this entire episode, I'm sure you'll hear me say it a lot, but just so much care that went into, I think, every aspect of mental health, every aspect of our characters, every aspect of just feeling alone, whether it be high school or college. Just a lot of care went into this screenplay, and that's something that I absolutely love and adore. It truly feels like Steven Spatsky, the director. I don't know his history. I don't know like his personal life, but it feels like this is a passion project of his. It feels like maybe he's been through something that he just wanted to translate into a movie, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower was that final product. Maybe he sees himself as a Charlie, and he decided to write an entire screenplay around it. But yeah, I absolutely adore this project. I think everyone in the cast is just heartbreaking and mesmerizing, and I think they all play their role outside of I think the entire side cast plays their role really well as being like this outlet for Charlie. Everyone kind of has their relationship with him, and I think everything just feels really real, from his sister to his newfound friends. Everything just feels like something straight out of a real high school. So just another aspect of the movie that I really love. But yeah, this is one of my personal favorites. Like I said, one of my favorite coming of age films. A film I could rewatch endlessly and it'll get the same emotional reaction out of me. Like Cam said, I adore the third act of this movie, or maybe even just like the last like 20 minutes to a half hour of this movie, I just think are brilliant. And like I said, it'll get a reaction out of me every time. I could watch this movie 5 days in a row and I'll cry all 5 times. But yeah, that's about my review. I'm sure if you guys follow me on Letterboxd, none of that will have come as a surprise. Is there anything we want to like particularly spoil, or anything that we want to get into, or any fun facts? What?
Yeah, I gotta add my thoughts. So
right. Fuck, my bad. Wow. I'm a terrible host.
It's all good. I've been talking a lot today.
I thought you had gone already. My bad.
To build on to what you're saying though about Steven Chbosky, this is like one of the only movies like in history where you can say like the adaptation is like faithful, because he wrote the book and then wrote the screenplay about the book and then directed the movie. So he wrote the book, wrote the screenplay, directed the movie. So this is like as passion project as you can possibly get. Like everything is from his mind. Obviously this was like a very great selling book in terms of it was a very popular book, and then the movie became kind of like a classic pretty much instantly for, you know, people in the coming of age genre. I really like it. I give it a 3.5, just like Seth. Don't love it, but I think the cast is pretty solid. Emma Watson I don't love in this, but Logan Lerman I think is so fantastic in this, and Ezra Miller. I know we're not supposed to praise them, but I thought he did great. I especially love the scene where he kind of gives like the suit to Charlie, because that's like such a thing where, you know, there's something like it's kind of like silly in the sense of like, oh, you could easily see people in high school bully someone for that, be like, oh, you're a writer, I'm gonna get you like a suit. That's so dorky, that's so cringy. But he finds people that accepts him for who he is and really embrace that, which is just so beautiful to see. But then it's also kind of devastating at the same time, because he's like a freshman and these are all seniors that are going off to college the next year. So it's like you're so happy for him because he finds this group of friends to be his outlet, and then you're like, shit, they're all going away. And when the movie ends, you're kind of honestly left on a note of like, is he good? Like, is he going to be okay after this? It sucks that they kind of have to leave him. But you know, it's great that he at least found that outlet. This movie does such a good job at it's coming of age, but then they cut in like so many times out of this movie, just like the most like devastating, heartbreaking flashback, or Logan Lerman's character Charlie being alone in his room, or thinking in his mind something up that's just so crushing on mental health or his post-traumatic stress. His relationship with, you know, trying to find help for what he's going through. And it's just like, you'll be going through a scene where, you know, they're happy, listening to music, driving under the Pittsburgh Bridge. And then it just like cuts to a flashback of like what happened to his mom or something. And you're like, Jesus, like it just blindsides you every single time. But ultimately, I think it's a great story about a man just finding acceptance, finding a group of friends. You know, he's always been that wallflower, just kind of sitting on the outside, no one really noticing him. Finally finds a group of friends that kind of accepts him for who he is. He also kind of experiences blackouts. Like that fight scene was crazy. He just blacks out and just freaking beats the hell out of those bullies. But yeah, there's a lot of like, it's not like, you know, my favorite movie of all time, but 3.5, this is a rewatch for me, but I also think I saw it before I logged it for the first time on Letterboxd as well. But yeah, solid movie all around. Yeah, I don't know. We can kind of talk freely about the movie now, but anything kind of specific we want to talk about?
I think scene that,
after you, Cameron.
What are we handed? I thought, was that like raisin?
He's trying to adjust his lighting.
Oh, I thought you were like waving your hand at me or trying to block yourself out.
No.
You got it. You go.
Yeah, I think that, you know, one of the most interesting things about the film, I think what it does successfully is kind of managing, you know, what is kind of hurting him so much from when he was a child, obviously with his auntie who died, right? Yeah. Died. Yeah. Auntie. Yeah. and kind of we eventually find out the abuse he faced, and kind of the mask he's put over himself because of said abuse, and how he's kind of tried to rid it throughout the years, and he's kind of thought he was the fault of his auntie's death, and kind of what she did to him because she was such a big part of his life. And I think that's a really interesting way to explore it, because it's very common for people who've been abused to be like that, and to kind of reflect on other notions and think it's their fault, and also to conjure up different things in their head of why they're so certain of why they can't get it out of their head, and try and put it to the back of their mind as much as possible. And obviously, I think that is why the ending is seen as so impactful, because you get kind of this reveal as to what's kind of been killing him throughout the whole film or throughout his life, or whatever. Yeah, I agree with Cam. I think that was definitely the most powerful sequence of the film. I think most people would say the same as well.
I don't know if you guys just saw, but I almost fell out of my chair. So sorry about that. I got a little crazy there. Yeah, the end, just driving through that tunnel, I think that is the most impactful part. Obviously, him going to the mental health hospital, and seeing all the scenes with his aunt and all of that is super emotional and makes me cry. But I think the most impactful scene was when they're driving through that tunnel at the very, very end, and they've come back. His friends have come back from college. And he's kind of taking a breath of fresh air. And I think I'm just a sucker for that breath of fresh air scene that comes in every coming of age movie. But it hits every time, in my opinion, and gets me every time. I do think this movie, the whole time I'm watching it, it gets hit with the Ezra Miller. I'm like, oh, that's a bad person right there. And so it kind of bogs it down a little bit in my brain, just a little bit, but I do think they give a very good performance. But yeah, I'm watching, I'm like, that's not great. They're just not a great person.
Well, one movie that they give a great performance in is Stanford Prison Experiment, and that just adds a whole new layer now when you rewatch it and be like, oh, he's like, they're method acting here, something like that. But
They're just doing themselves.
Yeah. I remember watching it years ago.
I watched it a long time ago, and I remember really liking it. I want to rewatch it.
I haven't seen it in years. Yeah, because there was 2 versions of that. I'm pretty sure. It's an interesting. I completely forgot about that film, Tyler. To be honest with you.
One thing that I think is so accurate about this coming of age story that it's just the most relatable thing ever is that all these teenagers think they have the most immaculate music taste in the world, even though it's stuff right outside the top 40 or a classic 70s song, but a very popular one. And it's just so true, where people there's so many people, we all know those people, everyone listening in our lives, that oh, you listen to I mean, it's similar to movies, oh, you listen to crap music, let me put you on some Billy Joel. This is indie stuff. Right? No, Billy Joel is great, but the way they treat it is
no, you know what it is? It's nowadays it's Tame Impala. Anyone that brags about listening to Tame Impala, and I love Tame Impala, but anyone that brags about listening to them, a music snob. They're the same people that brag about watching black and white 60s films. Sorry, Seth.
Hey.
But that's the equivalent of the music stuff.
But yeah, I love Billy Joel too, but it's just funny how they're let me put you on to some underground.
Yeah. They play in the fucking Stranger.
Yeah. And then another funny thing is when Emma Stone's trying to get into college, she's like, I'm never going to get into Penn State main campus. No one's ever said that. It's Penn State. No one's because schools have a University of Maine one, then they have smaller ones, there's University of Wisconsin, then there's University of Wisconsin La Crosse. If you're going to the smaller one, you specify, but if you're going to the main one, you just say, I'm trying to get into Penn State. No one has ever in the history ever said, I'm trying to go to Penn State main campus. No one said that ever. I chuckled because obviously that's where I went to grad school. I was chuckling that.
One thing about the ending, and Tyler, I think you mentioned it earlier, is I don't want to say it's ambiguous, but I think when it comes to any movie that deals with mental health, there's so much conversation to be had about okay, what happens after the credits? Yes, it seems by the end of it, maybe Logan Lerman's character, Charlie, slightly finds himself. Maybe he's a little more at peace than he was 20 minutes prior to the ending. But then you think, like you said, Tyler, his new best friends are all going to college. So when those credits roll, I love it, when it comes to these movies that deal with mental health, just how much conversation you could have about what continued to happen, because he's got another 3 years of high school left. He's maybe not necessarily taking care of his mental health the way someone should, and now his best friends are gone. So it's like, yeah, we just spent 2 hours with this character. He just went through a full spectrum of mental health. We saw his highs, we saw his absolute lows, and by the end of the movie, he's again maybe not entirely found himself, but he's definitely in a better place. And then the credits roll, and you just start thinking, 3 more years of high school without his newfound best friends. Maybe his sister's not around as much as she should be because she's in college as well. And it just opens such a door of conversation. Like, I feel like we could have an entire episode dedicated to these movies about mental health, talking about what could have possibly happened after like the credits start rolling.
How old is he meant to be? I don't actually know.
Freshman.
I believe a freshman. While his friends are seniors. So the end of the movie is like
14.
He's actually 14.
15.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Why does
15.
every he looks like? Why does every like in these films they need to find
Because they can't find good 15-year-old actors.
I know, but like he
as
looks
good
like
as Logan Lerman.
he looks like.
I mean,
he's
he
like-
had to be slightly in that range at the time.
Probably like
I don't
18
think
or
so.
19.
I think he was
maybe.
like 20, maybe.
Let's
I
see.
don't
Then Emma
Logan.
Watson and Ezra Miller were meant to be like, you know,
When did it,
18,
he was
So
21.
he's 31 in this. So
He was 21.
12 years ago. No, he's 31. So this is 12 years ago.
Yeah, he was 20.
Oh, is he 31?
He was 20 at the time that this came out.
Okay, so yeah.
I mean,
like,
not horrible, but yeah, definitely like
he
not
does
a
look older than
15-year-old.
14, 14.
He
14,
definitely
15.
looks older than 15.
There's such a
or
like
14.
change between like people at like 14 to 20 that like
Okay,
no
yeah.
one in movies actually looks 14.
How old are they? Like, how old are you when you leave? Like, is it like 18? Them
High
like-
school?
high school,
18,
18, 19, yeah.
Okay, so that okay, that makes sense. It's just like,
Yeah.
this is down as a thriller on Google. What the fuck?
I mean,
I guess for the flashback sequences, I guess.
dude,
What?
his phone call conversation with his sister, where he's like,
That kinda-
obviously,
That's
was-
just sad.
that shit is thrilling. Like, that's on the edge of
Yeah,
your
it's
seat. Like,
sad.
fuck. Like, it's sad as fuck, no doubt. But it's like, damn, what's
What
the
do I
dude about to
know
do?
the guy from? You know the guy who's like the bully, who's in a relationship with Ezra Miller's character. What do I know him from?
Yeah, no, I know that too. I saw it last night and I did the Leonardo
21
DiCaprio
he was
snapping
in-
finger memes.
He was in Stanford Prison Experiment. as
Oh, I
well.
love that.
They
But
all-
that's
He was
not what was,
in-
And Scott Pilgrim.
yeah, and 21
yeah,
Jump Street.
Scott
Well,
Pilgrim is probably
Whiplash,
what I
apparently.
was.
Jennifer's
Oh,
Body.
yeah, he was in the Whiplash short film. He was like the guy in the short, but he's also in the Whiplash movie. But he was like Miles Teller's role, I believe, in the short film.
Oh,
Oh my
He was
god.
Andrew Neiman.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
Andrew Neiman.
have you guys
Wow.
ever seen the film The To-Do List?
No.
Yeah, the
Well,
comedy,
don't
right?
watch it. Yeah, the one with Aubrey Plaza. It's shit, but I don't know why I've watched that, but I remember he's in that. So, you know.
But
that's why I remember.
kind of going off the ambiguous note for kind of where he goes from here. It's like, so Emma Watson, I keep saying Emma Stone. Emma Watson goes to Penn State
Oh,
and he's
and
in Pittsburgh. So like it's the same state, but like also it's like across the state, which is like for people not familiar with the geography of America, it's like probably 4-ish hours away. So like even though she's in state for college, like still not like he can't just drive up there whenever to hang out with her. It's kind of got to be a trek. So
far as fuck.
not the most optimistic. And I really wanted more Paul Rudd because like I feel like we were on the cusp of getting a real great like teacher-student relationship, which when he was in it, he was great. But
yeah, it surprised me. I thought he'd be
yeah,
like a main
was
because
super
this
great
is
in
like
this.
Paul Rudd at his not peak necessarily, but his heights of like fame and films and stuff. It's
Right.
I thought he'd be like they'd be like this close bond, teacher.
Mhm.
Kind
Yeah,
of like
he
a
just
father
flashed in
relationship with
If
teacher.
you want a good teacher
Edge of
student
17.
Edge of 17. You took
That's
the
what I thought.
words,
Is that the one with,
took the words
Haley
out of my
Steinfeld?
mouth.
Is that Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah,
and,
that's Haley Steinfeld and Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody
that's the
Harrelson.
one. Yeah, that's it.
Tyler, earlier you said Emma Stone, and I incorrectly corrected you to Emma Roberts.
I get Emma Stone and Watson mixed
So
up
we
all the
were
time.
both
We're all
wrong. Yeah, we're all having a tough day.
But yeah, I think it's a great film for people like at the age of what like Logan Lerman's character is supposed to be in this movie to watch, because one of my favorite things about it is how he gets so confident and like in himself to be able to like admit like I love reading, and like he raises his hand in class saying like I'm going to read for leisure. He goes up to his teacher and says like, do you have any book recommendations, or goes to his teacher for discussions like that. And I feel like so many people at that age, I know I've been in situations like that where like you want like you love a class, you're fascinated by a subject, and you want like more on it, talk to the teacher, kind of raise your hand, discuss in class, speak up, and you're so afraid to ever do that. But this kind of, if you're watching this and you're like 13, 14-year-old, and you kind of see like, hey, you know what, like he raised his hand, said I love reading, no one really laughed at him or bullied him, like it was a bold move by him, but he you get that extra one-on-one FaceTime with the teacher. I think that's a good like example for people at this age, just to, you know, speak up in class. If you're enjoying stuff, try and talk to the teacher. Like, they're there to help you and mentor you. They're not just, you know, someone assigning you homework that everyone hates. But yeah, I mean, some, yeah. But if you get like a Paul Rudd, who's like clearly like in there to be good for the teachers or good for the students. But
I did like the scene.
If you love reading, don't hide it.
I did like the scene at the start, obviously, when he's kind of like has the answer to the questions, and then Paul Rudd's like looking at him and they have these kind of moments. I really like that scene because it kind of the progressive of him coming out of his shell and just being like proud of kind of what he likes. I did like that. I think that was kind of a nice touch to add in.
There's a lot of meaningful, another part of this movie that I just love. There's a lot of meaningful like interactions between Charlie and just every character. He has a moment, I feel like, with every single character, his sister, his teacher, his friends. He has just a moment that's gonna like something he would describe maybe as like a core memory or something that just like defines him as a human being going forward with just every single character. And that's just, again, another part where Steven Spatsky, the director, it just feels like he's pulling so much from like something he went through. And again, I don't know his background or his personal life, but this just feels like such a personal passion project to him, and like as if he's had these interactions with his own teacher or his own friends or his own sister or something like that.
Do you know what scene was crazy? When Ezra Miller's like kissed the prettiest girl in the room.
Oh yeah, dude. Get fucked.
Intrusive thoughts took over.
And she's like smiling, like, "Oh, he's gonna kiss me," and then man, that's crazy.
That scene is built up so well too, because like he's voiceovering the whole time, saying like, "There's a lot of ways I could have broken up with her, but like, there's no worse way than this." You're like, what could he possibly do? You're thinking like the worst thing ever. Like maybe he's just gonna blurt it out, like, "I'm breaking up with you," and you're like, "What could it be?" And then that doesn't happen. Then you're like, "Oh, this is like worse than anything I could have thought." Like I don't think there's really.
It was Ezra Miller's reaction that made
he was like, "What did he say?"
He was like, "Oh, that's messed up."
Interesting. I just saw this fun fact on IMDb, so it's not mentioned in the movie, but based on something we just talked about, but it's in the book. Charlie was held back a year, so he's 16 in this movie. It's a little better than 14, but he was held back due to his emotional problems, so he's actually 16. While his friends are a couple grades older than him, but only a year or two older than him. But 16, a little better than 14.
Better than 14.
I guess.
One thing that was so freaking relatable in this movie for us with like films is when he gets the book from Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd's like, "This book was so special to me when I was a kid," and like Logan Lerman's character Charlie's like enjoying it a lot. And then I think it's his girlfriend who like looks at the book, is like, "This book's like so stupid. I remember when I used to like basic, non-deep books like this." I'm like, there's so many times we've all experienced that with a movie where like a movie's so near and dear to you, and someone's like, "That movie sucks," and like you're just like, "Hey man, it means a lot to me." It's like when I was freaking home for 3 years ago, I was like, my dad brought up, he was like, "You know what movie I watched the other day? It was like the worst movie I ever saw. 1917. I was like, and I just sat there and I was like,
I don't like 1917.
You know what's weird? Your dad is not entirely like in the minority there. Every time I post a war video on TikTok, I always include 1917 because it's in my top 10. Everyone, I get so many comments, "Dude, that movie was so boring."
I do get for a lot of people, it's like my dad's same as you, Tyler. It's the inaccuracies historically. Like it's just full of historical inaccuracies.
And just like a little slow-ish, I guess, because you're following.
Slow. I think that's crazy talking. But like,
I loved it. It was one of my favorite theater experiences, and it was like when I didn't know it was a one cut going into it, so like it was one of those where I was like looking at the screen, I was like, "Oh shit, we're doing this."
I love it.
Like, where is the second scene? I love it. God, we're getting so off topic now, but those one cut scenes, like those one cut movies, they're not actually obviously filmed in one take. Obviously,
I believe a lot that it's like just a one thing of just going from one side to the other. People do tend to believe that, and I have to say, it's not.
Cam, we did not hear you, but you took yourself off mute.
Did you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Okay.
No, I just was being an ass. I was saying, no, it's one scene. Yeah.
No, but I love trying to like find where the cuts are. That's what I was getting at, which is stupid. All right. Anything else we want to? I'm happy we talked a lot about Perks being a Wallflower because, again, one of my personal favorites. But is there anything else that we want to talk about?
This is a general game. It's kind of related to the film. Just to go off films, like in American like coming of age films, there is like a lot of being held back in grades and stuff. Is that actually like a common thing in the US? Does it happen a lot?
I wouldn't say common, but
does it happen? Like
there's probably like 2 or 3 people per grade that have been held back.
Really? And
At
that's
least
so
from
they-
at
it
least
does
from
nothing.
at least from my experience in
Interesting.
my schooling.
I have never met someone that was held back not on their own,
Accord.
like accord,
Yeah.
or like by
Interesting.
their parents, like when, and it's also like people mostly that I've ever met are like held back before they even start, so they just start like school year later, and it's mostly for like athletics.
Weird
We're
concept.
holding
biggest
Bailey
one-
back. He's going to be an athlete. A pro.
I know a lot of people that were held back in like kindergarten, which is what is right before like first grade, because like basically they go to kindergarten and they kind of realize their social skills or, you know, cognitive abilities might not be with the other kids. So they'll be like held back then and be like, let's start you in the primary school system like 1 year later, give you time to mature. But like in terms of like academically, because that's a decision made by like the parents and like they decide like, you know, we'll hold them back a year so they're kind of a little more developed before they go into primary school. But in terms of being held back due to academics or anything, like I think there's 600 people in my graduating class. And there's probably like 2 people that were like held back. So it's not like the most common thing.
It's not like a Billy Madison thing where there's like a 25-year-old in like a 7-year-old's class.
No.
Is it
The
possible? Would it be possible?
I mean, it could be, but the education system's so rigged, and that like my school, for example, is like we have one of the highest graduation rates in the country because we graduate like 99.99. It's like because they just say like
just
you're good enough, you get a C, go graduate.
Yeah.
It's just fake leaderboard stats. But
no, it's just a question I thought.
I think we're way off topic at this point.
Yeah, we're way off topic. We'll wrap up there. That was our patron sponsored review of the perks of being a wallflower. Shout out to our patron Stefan Johnson. I believe I skipped over mentioning that at the beginning of the episode, but shout out Stefan Johnson for the recommendation. Definitely one of my favorites that we've done on the ReelTok episode. Like Tyler mentioned in our ReelTok award show, we have revamped our patron tiers. So even if you're an existing patron or if you're not a patron, everyone just take a look at those tiers, make sure you're up to speed. One of the things, just since we're real quick, one of the things that we are doing going forward, we will continue doing these real quicks every week, but they will only be going forward for our patrons, just to make it a little more exclusive, a little more incentive for you guys to take a look at our tiers. So I believe this is going to be our last massive public one.
I think tomorrow's the one we're recording on Monday.
We have 1 week.
We have one more
so
that'll be public.
next week's, which I believe is
Dawn of the Planet.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, will be our final
And
real quick movie review.
I do just want to say, like, for people that ask, like, this is very obviously our least viewed product, like on YouTube, like our weekly reviews, and we don't have a lot of time on our hands, so we're trying to make the Patreon like a more meaningful purchase of someone that wants to support our podcast. Like, it's not like we're taking away the full podcast or the fun drafts or fun games that we do each week. But we do have to look at it like this is our secondary job. We have family. Like Bailey was around. Like, we have jobs. We have a whole bunch of things that we need to do. So I'm sure there's going to be like 1 or 2 mad comments of people who really enjoy the YouTube videos, and maybe there won't be, but you just have to understand, like, we want to promise a lot of things with Patreon. We're just not always able to get to it. Like movie watch alongs, I appreciate Tyler handling, but it sucks that we have to make Tyler handle those every week when he does a bunch of other things. So just coming from our perspective, we want to make sure we are doing what we say on the Patreon and we're giving out a good product. So it's not just like you're kind of getting shit. We're trying to, if you want to support us, you can give us however much money you want, but this is like the best way that we found that we can do it. So I just want to say that, because I'm sure there's like at least one person out there who's bummed that this is leaving YouTube. But that's kind of our mentality. And, if we get 1 million comments that say we suck, that happens.
Fucking hope we don't. But no, well said. Yeah, that pretty much sums up our mindset and kind of where we are as a podcast. But that'll wrap up real quick. Episode 129. Again, shout out Stefan Johnson, one of our great patrons, for the recommendation of the perks of being a wallflower. If you made it to the end of the episode, drop us a comment on the YouTube. What are your top 3 coming of age films? I'm very curious to see, because I feel like this is one genre that is always just all over the place with opinions. But Tyler, Seth, Cam, thank you for joining, and we will see you guys next week for ReelTok episode 71. 71.
Peace.